Today, I'd like to start with some predictive programming stuff. So, you might be asking yourself, what is predictive programming? And we've talked about this before, but I know every stream is someone's first stream. So, I'll explain it to you again, just for the sake of us all being on the same page. Predictive programming are the clues, right? So every so often when you talk to a conspiracy theorist, like if talking about a flat earther, they'll start talking about the flag for the UN and how it's like a flat earth map of the globe, or yeah, it's a flat earth model map of the earth, right? And that's like a type of predictive programming. The predictive programming is like when The Simpsons does something like in the 90s that talks about Donald Trump being president and he comes down the escalator the same way that he did when he actually became president. That's predictive programming. It's anything that someone can point to in society that seems to be reaffirming or predicting event in the future or that's currently happening. Uh, Now, you might have a few questions related to that, right? The first is why, if X group, Illuminati, the Bilderbergs, whatever group is doing the conspiracy, why, if that group wanted to do this conspiracy, would they leave clues? Why would they do that? Why do conspiracy theorists believe that people are leaving clues on purpose? Because that's what they believe. They believe that these clues are being left on purpose. That this is not like a situation where they think they're like final destinationing things, right? They don't imagine that like they're seeing patterns in the world or having premonition. Well, usually they don't imagine that. Some of them probably do, but I mean, generally speaking, they don't imagine that they're seeing visions or premonitions, or their mind is just like supernaturally able to like notice connections the way it happens like Final Destination. That's not what they're thinking. They're thinking that like the cabal, right, with all of the loading that word can come with, usually is planting this stuff in popular culture. And so you might ask yourself, why would the syndicate, why would like the Illuminati, why would the Freemasons, why would they do that? So there are a few reasons generally conspiracy theorists believe that they do this, but I would say the main one, like the main reason that the conspiracy theorists think that they do this, and is because they think that the conspiracy, the people who like are behind the masterminds, right, the wizards behind the scenes, that they gain some extra power or authority from having you like know and like know what's happening to you and like know that it's about to happen. They think that there's some kind of like magical, and I guess this is like in some traditions of magic, and you can even see this in like animes too, like in I think Jujutsu Kaisen, where like if they explain how their powers work to each other, then like the powers become stronger, right? Like that they are. It's like it's literally that kind of thing that they believe, that by showing you it's going to happen, you subconsciously buy into it, and that makes it like okay morally, or that makes it more powerful. They're a little wishy-washy on the reason why, but they can agree that it makes it like more powerful if they show it to you first. And so that's why they believe predictive programming happens. Like I said, there are other reasons. Like some people think that it's just because they're laughing at you, like that they're doing it because like, oh, well, yeah, like it's a big joke and you're not in on it. And like, and they show it to you because they're like, well, what the fuck are you going to do about it? And I get why they would feel that way too, because that does like actually happen. Like, obviously we live in a society where accountability for people in power is so very like rare, formal or informal. And so it does feel oftentimes like people who are doing negative things to us socially just parade themselves like in front of us, like at galas, at like special events and stuff like that. So I get why people think that one too, but that's not the dominant reason that people believe it happens. They think that it's because like they gain some extra power from it, but they do believe it's really happening. And that's, again, broadly speaking, people who believe this believe it's really happening. And by that I mean they don't think it's like a vision that they're having usually. Brian Fisher says Alex Jones believes predictive programming is part of an intergalactic contract between aliens and demons. Like, yeah. That's what I mean. Like, that's all I would say under the umbrella of they think it gives power and like in permission too. Like, that's part of what they think is like the permission seeking structure. So like they think that like if they didn't do predictive programming, then like the things wouldn't be allowed to happen. Like we give it permission by like watching it and consuming it, which doesn't really make any sense. But yeah, it's all part of the same belief that like the attention that we give to our popular culture is a lot more meaningful than it actually is. And that's part of people, and by people, I mean reactionaries, self-aggrandizing belief in the value of their own attention. But yeah, so let's talk about like what is actually happening when people identify, let's say like predictive pro. Let's forget the just confabulations, right? People just misremembering things that happen in old things that they watch, because that's like the Mandela effect thing, where people just misremember the lines from movie and can't accept that like it's just not what it was. Let's cordon this particular conversation off to like things that you might reasonably go like, huh, that is a little weird. It is a little weird that this thing that happened on The Simpsons 5 years ago then happened in real life. It is a little weird that like someone might say something that, you know, seems to indicate a knowledge of the future that is a little bit more specific than we normally would see. That happens all the time. And there are totally practical reasons for why that seems to happen. Sometimes, I would say the majority of times, it's just because like the thing that you think someone is predicting is just a thing that's always happening. And by nature of being in fiction, they are either like doing a thin layer of satire or applying things that are happening already to like one group of people to another group of people, or like embellishing a little bit in a way that like, you know, we're just on the path to that anyway. And so it's not so much that it's predicting the future, it's just describing the present and the possible consequences, or just describing the present through a thin veneer of like science fiction. And so it just like appears to be predicting the future because, you know, the person who wrote it was sophisticated in their understanding of the problems of today and how they might develop into the future and what they look like now, right? Likely more sophisticated than the person who's just noticing the thing for the first time. Because there is that element of it too, where it's like very subjective, where it's like, yeah, you might just have never noticed this before, but everyone else has, and they've been talking about this whole time. And now that you're ready to talk about it, it seems like they were predicting the future because you just noticed the problem. And so you're just pretending like it started now is another element in another reactionary way of thinking about this, where it's like, yeah, some people, when they first acknowledge the problem is when they think it first starts. And so they imagine other people talking about it in the past to be amazingly prophetic, as opposed to just like, yeah, talking about the same old shit that capitalism has likely been doing for decades. Sometimes it's just a guess. A lot of people are writing stuff about society all the time and about the future just all the time. And it has a bit of a survivor's bias where like, yeah, if 100,000 people make realistic predictions about what might happen in the future, it's like Donald Trump becoming president, like likely that it would happen. Or at least that, like, if it did happen, we would remember those predictions, but we wouldn't remember how many other predictions that those same people, or like, so it's just a kind of like a distillation effect, like a kind of false memory of only the correct ones. And then sometimes you got to be like, damn, Apollo really cursed you with the gift of foresight, huh, man? Because that was very specific and I can't believe it. And that does just be happening sometimes. We're not going to see a lot of that today, but that does just happen sometimes. You can't explain it. Sun goes up, sun goes down. You can't explain it. So let's dig into this.
1949, Porky Pig and Charlie Dog cartoon.
Look, what's that? Look, it's the towers! They're falling!
Come on. We're going to grade these based on like how much of a stretch they are. That one was a big stretch. Towers have fallen in the past before, and it's just unreasonable to imagine that even if you were going to predictively program something, that you would do it that many years ahead of time. Because think about it this way. That was the 1940s. Most people who saw that like live would probably be dead by the time the Twin Towers were brought down, or incredibly old and have no memory of that event. That to me is a real stretch. When I think of like compelling predictive programming, it at least has to be close within like a decade or 2 or 3 decades of the event itself. Like that's way too far in the future.
Wonder Woman comic book cover.
Okay.
1970.
I think that one's more of a sexual thing.
1963, Wonder Woman comic book cover.
This is more of a sexual thing.
1970, 30 Seconds Over New York, book by Robert Bacard.
Okay, 1970, 30 Seconds Over New York by Robert Picard. This is like a I guess a Chinese or Vietnamese. I guess I don't recognize every individual like army uniforms. I can't tell you what it is. Like army officer and jetliner is hurtling towards New York City, and the Twin Towers, the World Trade Center, is prominent in the image. Huh. That's on its surface pretty good, right? Like, but I would offer, and I would say this is also 1970 within 30 years. So it's a little bit far, well, 31 years. So it's a little bit far outside of, what I would say is like the acceptable time frame, but still in it. I think still comfortably within acceptable. Um, I don't know though, because I think the World Trade Center in this particular instance is just like a lazy way to make the New York City skyline really identifiable, as opposed to like the intended target. Excuse me, the intended target of like the plane. But I do think that because of the use of the Twin Towers, for that reason, it is pretty good. So like if I had to give it a grade for predictive programming, yeah, someone the online trash bag says B plus. I think yeah, B plus. Like this is a B plus A minus one. This is pretty good. I would say the only thing that makes it like for me even lower than B plus A minus is not the compelling nature of it, but like I don't think anyone's ever heard of this book. Someone in chat's gonna be like, no, this is my favorite book. I love this book. I love Robert Picard. But to me, effective predictive programming is also about the scale and the scope. Some people will say like, well, it's a bunch of little things in big things overlapping to be like one complex of manufacturing consent, like psychologically manufacturing consent. But unless you could show me some book sales that's like this is a really and was a really really popular book, I'm gonna say like I'm gonna drop my grade from like a B plus A minus to like a B. But like yeah, visually very compelling for sure.
1973, Godzilla vs. Megalon movie poster.
We have Godzilla and Megalon on top of two towers. Two, I guess those are the Twin Towers. I don't think they're literally the Twin Towers, but for the purposes of this, we can grant that these are the Twin Towers. I don't think so. Like the towers aren't falling; they just happen to be fighting on top of them, and that's just for like because they're two giant monsters. So I'm gonna online trash bag is like really hitting these ratings at the park. This to me is like a D. This one is not very compelling because ultimately this is probably I've never seen Godzilla versus Megalon. I'm familiar with the Megalon, but I would say that like this probably doesn't even take place in New York City, and so like this is pretty not good.
1973, Superman comic.
Okay, so Superman is saving two burning towers that are right next to each other, so could be the Twin Towers, from being on fire and burning down. So, okay, again, I feel like this is well within like the realm of what Superman just does daily. Here's what I mean by that. Superman is always putting out fires and burning buildings. I can't give you an example of every time that's happened in a Superman comic, but this is just the kind of thing that Superman does all the time. And sometimes those buildings are going to look like other buildings. And so for me, it's like if you draw Superman saving enough people, at some point you're going to draw someone who looks real like that, or at least almost looks real. So this seems more just like not even a coincidence, but that since Superman is always putting out fires in buildings in some form or another, like some of those buildings are going to be towers and some of those towers are going to be like next to each other by nature of how buildings are designed. So I'm going to give this one a C minus. This one is a bit of a stretch.
1975, cracked magazine cover.
Okay. This is a cracked magazine cover from 1975 where in the background a plane has crashed into a tower, and it seems to be on fire. The tower's on fire. Is it a twin tower? I guess we can't really tell. We'll say that it is. We'll say that it is a twin tower. Just to give this a little bit more weight, I think this is pretty good. I think this is pretty good. This is a pretty good one. It's not great, but I would say this is pretty good. I would say this is a B plus. This is a B plus.
1976, 9/11, a book by Thomas Chastain.
This is an F to me because this book's name is 911. You can even tell the book's name is 911 because it's written with hyphens down here. In the synopsis, it says, the Christmas bomber has the perfect gift for New York City. 12 days of uninterrupted terror. Suddenly, New York's hottest line will be the emergency number 911, the shock a second super thriller by Thomas Chastain, best-selling author of Pandora's Box. So yeah, this to me is an F. This book is not named 9/11. This book is named 911. I see how you could make that mistake, but no, like maybe an F plus because it does take place in New York, but there's no Twin Towers in this. There aren't even Twin Towers in these skylines of New York. Yes, this 9/11, like the 9/11 stylized on the cover of this edition of the book, could be mistaken for two towers. But if you look at the actual buildings that are being depicted in the borders, within the borders of the ones, they're not the Twin Towers. They're just like random buildings in the skyline. So I think this one is pretty bad. Superficially, okay, but like the moment you scratch beneath the surface, like it's not even called 9/11.
1976, Sesame Street magazine cover.
Oh, shit. This is Cookie Monster literally eating and destroying the Twin Towers. So I think this is actually like really good because if you accept that in this case, the Cookie Monster is a metaphor and an analogy for like American imperial consumption, then yes, the Cookie Monster did bring down the Twin Towers. Triple S tier, super stylized, successful, whatever it stands for in Devil May Cry. I love Cookie Monster, but if you strip him down to his basics as like a mindless consuming monster, yes, like what else could he represent besides like the American imperial machine? Not only is this good predictive programming, it's also just like a good analogy. It's a good metaphor for what happened. So yeah, shit, now I'm a believer.
1976, Spidey Super Stories comic book cover.
No, another weak one.
1978, Super Friends TV show, the episode entitled Monolith of Evil.
I'm going to tell you right now, anyone that is about like a superhero, especially like a Marvel superhero, and it's going to be about like the Twin Towers prior, it's like, no, that's immediately going to be, for me, like not convincing because Marvel superheroes all live in New York City and fight crime in New York City, and like the Twin Towers are there too. And so prior to them actually going down, and even to this day, like buildings get destroyed and those stuff in Marvel comics all the time. And so by sheer probability, some of that was going to be the Twin Towers prior to 9/11. So like I'm just gonna like blanket say if it's like a superhero one about a building being on fire or coming down or planes, it's automatically D or below because that's just what superheroes do. And it loses more points for being Marvel where everyone is in New York. I'm not saying Super Friends is in New York because Super Friends is DC. I'm just saying that like it's when they draw cities in the 70s, like they're gonna take a lot of like inspiration from recognizable skylines, which even if they're not Marvel, are going to like include things that are resemble like the New York City skyline. So I think there's so many different ways that this becomes not just even a coincidence, but like, yeah, they did draw the Twin Towers being attacked. But again, just because they were thinking of a building.
1978, Dr. John, City Lights album cover.
First of all, it's kind of dope. I kind of like this a lot. But this is not even showing the towers like collapsing or anything. This is just depicting the New York City skyline as a candle. F.
1979, Meteor movie poster.
No. The whole city was destroyed. No. D minus.
1979, Supertramp, Breakfast in America album cover.
That's just a depiction of New York City. Another F.
1979, Saga, Images at Twilight album cover.
That's just a picture of destroyed New York City.
1979, Pakistan International Airlines ad.
Okay. Okay. Now, you should have just forget all those other ones. Why? Like, if you have this, don't show me the Supertramp cover. Don't don't show me the Supertramp cover if you have this. Okay. Pakistani International Airline too. Okay, woo. That one's big. This one's pretty good. Pakistan International Airlines too. Wow. This is the A+ S tier. Yeah, like what, what can you say, right? This is the whole thing. This is the whole thing in one image. Yeah. Like we can explain, I mean, there's total explanations for it, like totally reasonable ones, right? But like, oh no, this is great. This is a great one for sure.
1983, Def Leppard, Pyromania album
boo, cover. Boo! Come on, no. F. How do you follow the Pakistan International Airline ad with this?
1985, G.I. Joe, episode 46.
You just stand right there, Sonny. Look straight ahead and hold still while we scan you.
Hey! Transaction approved. Subject's retinal scan matches no known dissident, subversive, or enemy of state on file. Have a nice day.
Hey! Come back here! This money ain't no good! It's U.S. dollars! Absolutely worthless!
1986.
Wait, what did that... What did that have to do with the Twin Towers? I mean, yeah, they're right. He's right.
Daredevil comic book cover.
F, yeah, again, Daredevil
1986, Real Ghostbusters, Season 1, Episode 12.
Just a plane in the city. Yeah, no. No.
1986.
Again, the Ghostbusters are just in New York City. It's not as though they made the whole show Ghostbusters and all of Marvel Comics in New York for this one thing. Not very compelling to me.
Dream Machine.
There's computers where the resolution is so high that you can never tell that it was ever touched by anything, which raises the whole question of photography as evidence of anything. I don't even think people are aware of how much computer graphics is used today. There's just a whole question now of what is real.
Create a new reality by adding an erupting volcano to the San Francisco skyline. Or remove the World Trade Center from the New York City skyline.
That one was fun. I like that one because it's fun. So I'm going to give it like a B+.
1988, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Season 2, Episode 7.
Okay.
Oh, bad news, Master Splinter. Shredder is up to something, but he ran off before we could discover what.
All we know is it had something to do with the Twin Towers.
Sooner or later, he will reveal his plan.
Okay. Whoa. Okay, so again, this you could skip to this stuff. You could just skip. Why are you? Why are you putting stuff like this? Why are you putting stuff like this in here when it's crazy? I was gonna turn this video off, but like this is wild.
1988, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Season 2, Episode 7.
Oh, bad news, Master Splinter. Shredder is up to something, but he ran off before we could
Let's see
discover
the whole thing before we
what.
judge.
All we know is it had something to do with the Twin Towers.
Sooner or later, he will reveal his plan.
Like, what do you suppose Shredder's up to this time?
Michelangelo, you heard April's message. He's been spotted on the roof of the World Trade Center.
It's for sure he's not there for the view.
Hey! What is it? Hang on! We're gonna...
Yo, if if this Turtles plane crashes into the World Trade Center, crazy.
Roof of the World Trade Center.
It's for sure he's not there for the view. Hey! What is it?
Hang on! We're gonna crash!
1988.
Okay, so that was pretty good. That was pretty good. And see, I think that like just because you're already in New York, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are already living in New York, doesn't mean that you can't make it work. I'm just saying that it takes a little extra. That was pretty good. I'm gonna give that one an A-. I'm gonna give that one an A- because it had all of the component pieces, even though they didn't like fit together very well. So I'm gonna give that one an A-, maybe B+, but that was pretty good. Because what makes that one good is that it's TMNT, and like people definitely watched that cartoon show. So that was something you could have reasonably come across, I think, as a kid in the 80s. That was good. That was a good one. Every time I think I'm out, they keep putting me back in.
Microsoft Flight Simulator.
I don't love this one. For me, a big part of predictive programming is also like not having a reasonable explanation for why it would exist this way when it could be something else like entirely. This just feels like, yeah, it's Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's like a C-.
1989. WWF.
Yo, okay, for sure. What? That is so funny. Demolition will topple the Twin Towers. Okay. This is pretty good. Okay, so I had said like a B, I think B+ at the beginning. This has immediately like shotting up to like over an A. This is pretty good.
I still feel the pain right now, and Hulk Hogan, that pain won't stop until the Twin Towers come crumbling down. Oh yeah, right now tonight on prime time. Yeah.
1989.
Okay, yeah, that was a good one. A+, because I love the Macho Man Randy Savage. I like to think that the Macho Man Randy Savage was gifted with foresight by Apollo.
Jason Takes Manhattan movie poster.
No. Boo. F. Another F.
1991. Terminator 2.
On the overpass, it says caution 9/11. No, boo, F. This is just the height of the overpass. Come on, no, boo. You wouldn't even see this. Come on, no, come on. I was trying to rack my brain what this could have been about, and this is nowhere near what I was imagining. Zero. This is zero. See the teacher. See the teacher after class.
Rugrats, season 2, episode 14.
Cynthia doll.
Of course you do. And if you're a good little girl,
A Teenage Nuclear Fusion Squad video game.
Well,
a Rocco Mr. X exploding smash up doll. A Beverly Hills.
And I want a Mujahideen leader to blow up the Twin Towers. Angelica did it.
And a 9/11 emergency surgical kit with working stethoscope.
1990.
No, again, like she just means 911. Like that doesn't count.
1994. Iron Man cartoon. Season 1, episode 5.
Unidentified warplane sighted heading for New York City.
Our detection system shows nothing. Mayday! Mayday! New York is under attack! Intercept and destroy!
A force field is shielding the warplane. It's getting through.
It's time. We will now strike at the heart of American defense and destroy the Pentagon.
Okay.
Swift
Whoa.
and deadly.
Okay. So that was one of those ones that started out pretty not great, but then jumped several grade levels. Okay. That one started for me at like C+ because it's Marvel and they're in New York anyway. But now towards the end, that's an A+. That's some A+ predictive programming. Another good one.
1994. Viceland magazine article.
I've seen this one before with the Beavis and Butthead dressed as like terrorists in planes around the Twin Towers. It's a pretty good one. I don't want to rate it poorly because I'm jaded because I've seen it a few times. Someone is asking if this is after the World Trade Center. And yes, this is. In fact, this particular, you can't read it because the text is small, but I can read it. And also I've seen it before. The text that is above them right here is describing the attack on the World Trade Center that had happened previously. It's describing the underground parking lot bomb.
1994, Friends intro debut.
No, boo, no, come on. No.
1994, Deathstroke, the Terminator comic book cover.
Another bad one. Too many comic books have tons of covers.
1995, The Tick, Season 1, Episode 12.
Oh man.
We are under attack.
Gosh, I'm prepared. Like, The Tick is so crazy. I'm prepared for like the Tick one to be just like legit 1-to-1 with what with what happened. The Tick is crazy.
Things so monstrous, terror unleashed from the sacred cotton candy place of our dreams. If anyone is out there listening, get out of town before it gets to you. And I'm out of here.
1995.
That's pretty good.
Hackers.
But not great. C+. No, B-.
Beat that.
Those aren't the Twin Towers.
1995, Philips Home Cinema commercial.
F.
Pictures so real, you won't believe your eyes. Dolby Prologic surround sound so exciting your eyes won't believe your ears. The ultimate home cinema televisions from Philips, including 100 Hz flicker-free pictures and widescreens. Philips, let's make things better.
Okay, well, I do like the tagline at the end because it sounds sinister in hindsight, like Philips, let's make things better. Like, that sounds really sinister, like in the context of 9/11. So I do like that. So I'm gonna give that one a B+. I don't think it was compelling in its imagery, but like if it's one of those I want to believe moments, so that's pretty good.
1995, Illuminati card game. 1996. This is a steal from Independence Day, but they show this briefly in the movie.
I know, come on, but they don't show these together in the movie. This is just what's happening at different points in the movie, and this is like a countdown. Every countdown that starts at 10 has a screen, if it shows it, that has 9/11 on it. Easily explainable by like the reality of how clocks work. So no, like, it's not as though they showed at 9/11/01 the Twin Towers being blown up by the aliens. That's what they're trying to imply here by the way these two images are shown together. But this does not happen in the movie. I've seen Independence Day a ton of times.
1997, Men in Black cartoon, Season 1,
Nice.
Episode 6.
Slim, remember those Twin Towers?
Yeah, what about them?
I don't think they're gonna be so tall anymore.
Man, okay, so I when it's stuff from my own childhood, I love it. I love that stuff. That's a good one. I'm gonna give that one like a A-, B+ for sure. So the cusp. Aliens in 9/11.
1997, The Simpsons, Season 9, Episode 1.
Oh, I'd love to see New York. We could all go with the bus company's special Super Sitter fare.
$9? This one's on me.
Great!
And real quick, here's...
That's a little fun.
I'd love to see New York. We could all go with the bus company's special...
So this one is fun. This one says New York 9/11, but the 11 is spelled with the Twin Towers. That's fun. That's fun. And it's The Simpsons. So like The Simpsons is a big source of predictive programming because of how much stuff they've done. This one I gotta give pretty high. This is like a classic. This is like A. This is like a solid A, maybe even an A+ because of the way it's constructed. The way it's constructed is so good. Like, yeah, like the 9 is just a 9, and then like the 11 is the Twin Towers, and it just says New York. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Super Sitter Fair?
What I like about that one is that it has like the information, but it's not about the towers blowing up, and it's not about like planes hitting them, which is explicable in some ways. There's no reason for it to be $9. There's no reason for it to be positioned like that. There's no it obviously that's about graphic design, and like there are explanations for it, but there's no real reason for it to be that way.
1997, emergency response to terrorism, self-study.
No, that's just because of the 93 attacks. So that's an F. That's not predictive programming. That's like reference.
1997. St. John's Cathedral. It has a Freemasonic sculpting depicting a disaster in New York. 1998, Armageddon.
No, this is just a disaster movie, and New York City is a big city. Okay, this one's fun because this one is kind of like this one is kind of like the Simpsons one. And let me tell you why I think these are fun, because these are like the Final Destination ones. These are like the ones where like if your third eye is open, you see it. Like, and it's not like the ones where it's like a literal plane hitting the Twin Towers where you're like, yeah, that's it, but come on, like, like, titillate me. I like these. I like the ones where it's like a Final Destination like clue, like, oh yeah, cool. The Matrix. So on Neo, or Thomas Anderson's passport, as he's his government name, the date of expiration is September 11th, and the date of when he got it is like September 1st, or vice versa, but it's those dates. So all told, it's September 11th, 2001. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And what I think is powerful about that, and I do admit that most people would not see it, right? Most people, when they saw this movie, didn't like pick that up, which is not like disqualifying for predictive programming. But I think what's compelling about this one is, first, how close 1999, The Matrix, how close it is in proximity to 9/11, which is really, you could have just noticed this and it just happened, and that would have been like, whoa, your mind blown. The second thing I think is really powerful about this is because it's in the Matrix. Because it's in the Matrix, and the themes of the movie The Matrix really can be said to overlap with a lot of interest with the conspiracy theory circles. This one I think is pretty good. This one's like an AA+ for sure.
2000, Rugrats in Paris.
Rugrats in Paris? Oh my God, Chucky? Chucky did 9/11, or is it back to Angelica?
New York Magazine.
No.
Interestingly enough, it says, "Is there life beyond the boom?"
No,
that's a coincidence. And it also has the one-eye symbolism.
Coincidence.
2001, March. The Lone Gunman.
The Lone
You're saying
Gunman.
our government plans to commit a terrorist act against a domestic airline?
There you go. Indicting the entire government as usual. It's a faction. A small faction.
For what possible gain?
The Cold War's over, John. But with no clear enemy to stockpile against, the arms market's flat. But bring down a fully loaded 727 into the middle of New York City, and you'll find a dozen tin pot dictators all over the world just clamoring to take responsibility and begging to be smart-bombed.
I can't believe it. This is about increasing arms sales. When?
Tonight?
This is like the gold
Begging
standard.
to be smart-bombed.
I can't believe it. This is about increasing arms sales. When?
Tonight?
We've got manual override.
2001, June. Just months before.
Okay, let's go back to the lone gunman before we get to Boots Riley. First of all, I just want to foreground the obvious. This is gold standard stuff. This is obviously an S tier. Some of the stuff about the motivation for it, it's kind of like overlapping or like an example of what I mean. It's like, yeah, but like the idea of false flags where the government lying people into war in order to sell arms, like that's a well understood phenomenon by people who understand like that war is a racket. So like just having that be said is never enough for it to be like a predictive programming, or at least compelling predictive programming to like the Patriot Act or to like 9/11, because that's just a well understood phenomenon of like the way governments, imperialist and like governments operate. But then like every other thing about that, come on. What can I say? It wasn't a 727, it was a 767. Like, is that like the counter argument you want? Yeah, it's S tier, gold standard.
2001, June. Just months before the events took place.
So like this is just more of a commentary on the World Trade Center as a symbol of like Western economic power, which is why it was hit in the first place. So like the reason why they attacked the World Trade Center is also the reason why it's depicted in stuff like this in real life. That being said, if this album came out on September 10th, 2001, it would be like, come on, like case closed.